Most people lose the first battle of their day before they even get out of bed. Not because something terrible happened, but because the first voice they hear in the morning is not their own. It's the news, it's social media. It's the endless noise of other people's opinions, their problems, their expectations. And before your mind has a chance to stabilize, you've already absorbed anxiety that was never yours. Your nervous system is reacting. Your attention is scattered. Your day is already being pulled in 10 different directions. But here is something most people never realize. The first words you say to yourself in the morning are not just motivation. They are mental programming. Neuroscience shows that your brain is especially plastic in the first 30 to 60 minutes after waking. This is when the mind quietly begins shaping its emotional baseline for the rest of the day. The ancient Stoics understood this long before brain scans existed. They believed the mind must be trained early in the day, before the world begins demanding your reactions, not with long speeches, not with complicated rituals, but with simple principles that remind you who is actually in control. What if 5 short phrases could do that? 5 sentences you repeat each morning that slowly retrain your inner voice. 5 reminders that ground you when anxiety, pressure, or doubt tries to take over. Today we're going to explore 5 powerful words you can tell yourself every morning. Words that help you regain emotional control, reduce overthinking, and move through the day with the quiet confidence the Stoics believed every person could develop. The first one might be the most important of all, because it determines whether the world controls your emotions or whether you do. Let's begin. Word number 1, I choose my response. Most people believe emotions are automatic. Someone criticizes you, a coworker disrespects you, a message arrives that ruins your mood, and suddenly the reaction feels instant, almost mechanical. Anger, anxiety, defensiveness. But the Stoics challenged this assumption thousands of years ago. They believed something radical for their time, and still radical today. Events do not control your emotions. Your interpretation of those events does. This is why the first phrase you repeat each morning is simple. I choose my response. Not I control the world, not nothing will bother me. Just this one quiet reminder. My reaction is still my responsibility. Modern neuroscience actually supports this idea. Studies on emotional regulation show that there is a brief neurological window between stimulus and response. It may only last a fraction of a second, but it exists. During that moment, your prefrontal cortex, the rational part of the brain, has the opportunity to step in before the emotional system fully takes over. But this ability only works if the brain has been trained to pause. If not, the amygdala reacts instantly, and the emotional impulse becomes your behavior. That's why this phrase matters in the morning. You are preparing the brain to remember that small space of control. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus said something remarkably similar. It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. This isn't philosophical poetry. It's practical psychology. Think about a common situation. 2 people receive the exact same criticism at work. One person spirals for hours, replaying the conversation in their head. The other listens, evaluates whether the criticism is useful, and moves on. The event was identical. The response was different, and that response determined the emotional outcome. This is why repeating I choose my response each morning slowly builds emotional discipline. It reminds you that the world may trigger you, but it does not automatically control you. The Stoics trained themselves to pause before reacting. They would mentally ask, is this within my control? Is my reaction helping or harming me? That moment of reflection is where strength lives. But there is an important exception. Choosing your response does not mean suppressing emotion. It means acknowledging the emotion without letting it dictate your behavior. You can feel anger without becoming destructive. You can feel anxiety without becoming paralyzed. You can feel disappointment without abandoning your values. That is emotional mastery, and it begins with one quiet sentence repeated in the morning. I choose my response. Because once you accept that responsibility, something interesting happens. You stop blaming circumstances for your state of mind. You stop waiting for the world to behave perfectly before you feel calm. Instead, you begin building something far more powerful: internal stability. And that stability leads naturally to the second phrase. Because once you realize you can choose your response, you also realize something else. Every challenge suddenly becomes an opportunity for growth. Which brings us to the next words you should tell yourself every morning. Word number 2, growth lives here. Most people say they want growth, but very few people actually want the conditions where growth happens. Because growth rarely appears in comfort. It appears in friction, in uncertainty, in situations where you feel slightly unprepared. And this is exactly why the second phrase matters. Growth lives here. You repeat this not when life is easy, but when something feels difficult. A challenging conversation, a mistake at work, a moment when your confidence suddenly drops. Your mind immediately interprets these situations as threats. Your nervous system begins searching for escape. Avoid the conversation, quit the task, distract yourself with something easier. But neuroscience shows that the brain changes most during controlled difficulty. When you face a challenge slightly outside your comfort zone, the brain releases chemicals like dopamine and norepinephrine that help strengthen new neural pathways. This process is called neuroplastic adaptation. In simple terms, your brain becomes stronger exactly where it was once uncomfortable, but only if you stay present long enough to learn. The Stoics understood this long before neuroscience existed. The Roman philosopher Seneca once wrote, "Difficulties strengthen the mind, as labor does the body." He believed that adversity was not an interruption of growth. It was the training ground. Think about any meaningful skill: confidence, discipline, leadership, emotional resilience. None of these are developed in comfortable situations. They are developed when you are forced to navigate difficulty without collapsing. There's a story often told about the Roman Stoic Musonius Rufus, the teacher of Epictetus. When his students complained about hardship, he told them something unexpected. He said a life without challenges would be like a soldier who trains with wooden swords, but never faces a real battle. The appearance of skill without the reality of strength. And the same thing happens psychologically. If every situation is easy, the mind never develops resilience. But when you begin telling yourself growth lives here, something subtle changes. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" you begin asking, "What is this trying to teach me?" That shift changes how your brain interprets stress. Psychologists call this cognitive reframing. When the brain interprets difficulty as training instead of danger, your stress response becomes far more manageable. Athletes do this constantly. Entrepreneurs do this constantly. But emotionally resilient people do it in everyday life. The uncomfortable meeting, the awkward conversation, the mistake that reveals where you still need improvement. Each of these moments becomes information instead of humiliation. But here is the important balance. Not every difficult situation is meant to be endured forever. Growth lives in meaningful difficulty, not pointless suffering. If an environment is toxic, abusive, or constantly draining your mental health, the Stoics would say wisdom also includes leaving. Growth requires challenge, but it also requires self-respect. When the difficulty is meaningful, stay and learn. When it is destructive, walk away with clarity. That distinction is part of maturity. And when you begin seeing challenges through this lens, something surprising happens. Fear loses some of its power, because you realize the uncomfortable moments of the day are not signs of failure. They are signs that the mind is expanding. which leads to the third phrase you repeat each morning. Because once you understand that growth happens in the present moment, you stop living in yesterday's regrets. You stop obsessing over tomorrow's uncertainties, and your focus returns to the only moment where change is actually possible. Word number 3, today matters most. One of the quietest ways people sabotage their lives is by living almost entirely outside of the present moment. The mind drifts backward, replaying conversations, regretting decisions, analyzing mistakes from years ago, as if the outcome could somehow change, or it drifts forward, imagining worst-case scenarios, building disasters that have not happened and often never will. The result is a strange paradox. Your mind is constantly busy, yet very little real progress is made, because almost none of that thinking is happening in the only moment where action exists, today. This is why the third phrase matters. Today matters most. Not yesterday, not the imaginary version of tomorrow your mind keeps rehearsing, just today. Modern psychology has a name for the mental pattern many people fall into: temporal displacement. It describes how the brain constantly jumps between past regret and future anxiety, leaving the present moment underused. And this habit quietly drains emotional energy. Research from Harvard psychologists once found that people spend nearly half of their waking hours thinking about something other than what they are currently doing. And interestingly, those wandering thoughts were strongly correlated with lower levels of happiness and focus. In other words, the mind suffers when it lives everywhere except the present. The Stoics recognized this problem long before psychology labs existed. The Roman emperor and philosopher Marcus Aurelius wrote something remarkably direct in his journal: confine yourself to the present, not the entire future, not the entire past, just the present day. Because when you narrow your focus like this, life becomes surprisingly manageable. Think about how overwhelming life feels when you imagine everything at once: your entire career, your financial future, your relationships, your long-term goals, stacked together. They look enormous, but when reduced to today's actions, they become simple again. Make the call, finish the task, take the walk, have the honest conversation. This is why elite performers, athletes, surgeons, military leaders often train themselves to think in immediate time frames, not years, not decades, just the next move. This doesn't mean long-term planning is useless. The Stoics plan for the future as well, but they refuse to emotionally live there. Planning belongs to the future, action belongs to today. And the truth is, your life is quietly built from thousands of ordinary days. Not dramatic turning points, not sudden transformations, just repeated daily choices. When you say, today matters most, you are reminding your mind of something powerful. You don't have to solve your entire life today. You only need to use today well. And when enough days are used well, something interesting happens. Momentum appears, confidence grows. Your mind stops feeling scattered between past and future. It becomes grounded in reality again. But even with this clarity, many people still struggle with a deeper obstacle, a quiet voice that whispers something discouraging. You're behind. You're not talented enough. You should already be further along. This voice is responsible for enormous amounts of stress and self-doubt, which is exactly why the fourth phrase matters so much. Because before you can build the future, you must first believe something many people struggle to accept: that who you are right now is already enough to begin. Let's talk about that next. Word number 4, I am enough. There is a quiet pressure many adults carry that they rarely talk about. The pressure to constantly prove their worth, to be more successful, more disciplined, more attractive, more productive. And on the surface, this pressure looks like ambition. But underneath, it often hides something else. A subtle belief that says, who I am right now is not enough. Social media amplifies this feeling every single day. You scroll for a few minutes, and suddenly it seems like everyone else is ahead. Someone built a company at 25. Someone travels the world effortlessly. Someone looks happier, richer, more confident. Your brain begins comparing your ordinary moments to someone else's highlight reel. And slowly, without realizing it, the mind creates a dangerous narrative. I'm behind. I'm not where I should be. Something must be wrong with me. Psychologists call this chronic social comparison, and research consistently shows it is strongly linked to anxiety, depression, and reduced self-worth. Because when your value is constantly measured against others, it becomes impossible to feel stable. There will always be someone richer, someone smarter, someone further ahead. The Stoics saw this trap long before modern culture magnified it. The philosopher Epictetus warned his students about measuring themselves against external standards. He believed that once you tie your self-worth to things outside your control, status, reputation, validation, your peace of mind becomes permanently unstable. Instead, he taught a different principle. Your worth is not defined by comparison, it is defined by character and intention. This is where the fourth phrase comes in. I am enough. Notice what this phrase does not mean. It does not mean you stop improving. It does not mean you abandon ambition or growth. The Stoics were not passive thinkers. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire. Seneca advised emperors. Epictetus trained students in discipline and resilience. None of them believed in complacency, but they also understood something psychologically important. Growth works best when it is built on self-respect, not self-hatred. When people constantly attack themselves internally, motivation becomes fragile. They burn out faster, they quit sooner, they avoid challenges, because failure would confirm their worst fears. But when someone accepts that they are already worthy of effort and care, something shifts. Improvement becomes an act of development, not a desperate attempt to fix a broken identity. Athletes often talk about this mindset. The best performers push themselves relentlessly, but they do not begin each day believing they are worthless until they succeed. They start from the assumption that they are already capable of becoming better. That belief stabilizes the mind, and stability creates endurance. There is also a deeper Stoic principle here. You are the only person responsible for your character, not the opinions of strangers, not the expectations of society, not the comparisons your mind invents. Your task is simple, but demanding. To become slightly wiser, slightly calmer, slightly more disciplined than you were yesterday. That process begins with self-acceptance. Because if you constantly believe you are inadequate, the mind becomes exhausted trying to prove otherwise. But when you say, I am enough, you create psychological ground to stand on. From that place, improvement becomes sustainable. However, there is one final mental trap that quietly destroys peace of mind, even for people who are confident and disciplined. The obsession with controlling everything, controlling outcomes, controlling other people, controlling the exact timeline of life. And this final habit might be the most exhausting of them all. Which brings us to the last phrase, one that the Stoics considered essential for a calm mind. Word number 5, I release control. There is a hidden source of stress that many people mistake for responsibility. The belief that if you think hard enough, plan carefully enough, worry long enough, you can control how everything turns out, control the outcome of a conversation, control how people feel about you, control whether life unfolds exactly the way you expect. At first, this mindset can look like discipline. It can even look like intelligence. But in reality, it slowly becomes one of the most exhausting mental habits a person can develop. Because the truth is simple, most things in life are not fully within your control. Other people's opinions, unexpected setbacks, timing, chance. You can influence these things, but you cannot command them. This is why the final phrase is so powerful. I release control, not as an act of giving up, but as an act of clarity. Modern psychology calls this distinction the locus of control. When people try to control everything around them, they experience chronic stress because the world constantly violates their expectations. But when they focus only on what they can actually influence, their actions, their preparation, their attitude, anxiety decreases significantly. The Stoics built their entire philosophy around this idea. The very first lesson taught by Epictetus was something now known as the dichotomy of control. Some things are within your control, your choices, your effort, your character. Other things are not. Reputation, outcomes, the behavior of other people. Peace of mind begins when you clearly separate the two. Imagine trying to control the weather. You could stare at the sky, complain about the clouds, check forecasts every 10 minutes, but none of that would change the rain. However, you could bring an umbrella, prepare appropriately, and continue your day anyway. Life works the same way. You cannot control whether someone misunderstands you, but you can control whether you communicate honestly. You cannot control whether every plan succeeds, but you can control whether you act with persistence and discipline. This mindset creates something extremely valuable: psychological lightness. The mind stops gripping every outcome so tightly. You do the work, you prepare carefully, you act with integrity, and then you allow reality to unfold. Marcus Aurelius described this attitude beautifully in his personal writings. He reminded himself daily to focus on the effort, not the applause, to focus on the action, not the recognition, to focus on virtue, not approval. Because once you have acted according to your values, the result no longer threatens your identity. You did what was within your control. The rest belongs to life. But there is one important exception. Releasing control does not mean becoming passive. It does not mean avoiding responsibility or refusing to plan. The Stoics were extremely active people. They built careers, led armies, governed nations. What they released was not action. They released attachment to perfect outcomes. That subtle shift changes everything. Instead of exhausting yourself trying to dominate life, you begin collaborating with it, which is why this final phrase belongs in your morning ritual. Because when you combine it with the other four, something powerful begins to form. You choose your response. You embrace growth. You focus on today. You respect your worth. And you release what was never yours to control. That combination builds a calm, resilient, disciplined mind. And that leads us to the final reflection. Because these 5 phrases are not just words, they are a way of training the voice inside your head. If you look carefully, most people are not defeated by life itself. They are defeated by the voice inside their own mind. The voice that replays mistakes. The voice that predicts disaster. The voice that constantly whispers that they are behind, inadequate, or losing control. But that voice is not fixed. It can be trained. And the Stoics understood something deeply practical about human psychology. Your character is shaped by the thoughts you rehearse repeatedly. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself of this constantly in his personal journal. He wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Notice what he did there. He wasn't trying to control the entire world. He was training the one place where influence is absolute, his own mind. And that is exactly what these 5 phrases are doing. When you wake up and repeat them, you are quietly establishing a mental framework for the day. I choose my response. So other people don't control your emotions. Growth lives here. So challenges stop feeling like personal attacks. Today matters most. So your energy returns to the present moment. I am enough. So improvement grows from self-respect instead of self-criticism. I release control. So life no longer feels like a constant fight against uncertainty. Individually, these sentences seem small, but repeated daily, they begin reshaping the inner dialogue that guides your decisions, your reactions, and your habits. And that is where real change happens. Not in dramatic bursts of motivation, but in quiet daily alignment. So here's something simple I want you to try. Tomorrow morning, before you check your phone, before the world starts demanding your attention, take 10 seconds, repeat these 5 phrases, slowly. Let them become the first voice your mind hears. And if one of these phrases resonated with you today, I'm curious, which one did you need to hear the most right now? Write it in the comments. You might be surprised how many other people are working on the exact same battle. Because this channel isn't just about philosophy. It's about building a community of people who are training their minds to become calmer, stronger, and more deliberate in a noisy world. And if you found this video helpful, like the video and subscribe to Psychology of Stoics for more lessons on emotional discipline, Stoic philosophy, and the psychology of a resilient mind. Until the next video, remember this: your life rarely changes overnight, but the way you think about your life can change in a single morning. And sometimes, that's where everything begins.